Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Belle and today we are going to be talking about two highlighters that I picked up at the drugstore that I am just loving. These are the Revlon SkinLights Highlighter. I bought two of them. I believe there's a third one that's deeper because this one is 201 and this one's 202, and I believe there's a 203 up on the Revlon website, but these were the only two that I saw at the drugstore. And I'll open them up for you real quick. As you can see, I have been using them, but they look like this. So this is the lighter shade. This one is Daybreak Glimmer right here. And then the other one is Twilight Gleam, and it's right here. This one is definitely a bit too dark for me as I have a pretty fair skin tone. And then this one is pretty much perfect for me. Definitely matches my skin tone really well. But I got this one just so you can see kind of the range that they have. I was a little upset they didn't have the third one as well in the store, just so I can show you the full range, but I just wanted to show you kind of the differences between the two that I have. The reason why I picked these up is because I am loving the prismatic eyeshadows, the ones that look like this. Especially this one, I just honestly cannot get over it. It's just beautiful. And this one is in Slight Flex. And this shade right here, I mean, you can see it sort of on the camera. It is stunning. It's like purple, teal. It has like this duochrome effect that you would expect from like a very expensive shadow for a drugstore price, which I really appreciate. And then the other ones in the other palettes are also really beautiful. I think that this one for a neutral palette or like an everyday palette, that's a dub palette, is also just stunning. Looks like this. I know it kind of looks boring, but this is a beautiful inner corner, and this shade right here is gorgeous, and then these two just really round out the amount of looks you're able to do with this palette. So essentially what we're going to do is I'm going to apply this highlighter. I'm also going to apply this one to the other side of my face, just so you can see. I think it's going to be a little too dark. You're going to be able to see that kind of like dark streak, but I just want to show it to you guys. I do think that in the summertime when I'm a little tanner, I'd probably be able to wear this maybe on my shoulders or on my like chest when I have a bit of sun, but right now, being that it's like the middle of winter or like getting towards the end of winter, I guess, I haven't seen the sun in months, and so I think this one's definitely better for me. We're also going to be swatching a few other highlights in comparison, just so you can see what this formula is like compared to other, I guess, pretty well-known highlights. I'm going to use like a Milani one from the drugstore. We're going to be comparing it to a Natasha Denona highlight. I'm going to compare it to the Anastasia one, and then also I'm going to compare it to the Scott Barnes palette because I actually think that although they have different formulas, they give off a very similar look. So I'm going to swatch a few of them just so you can see some comparisons. You can get a feel if you have one of these other highlights, whether or not this one would work for you. Before we get into the swatches, I'm going to apply these two. So I am going to apply the lighter one on this side of my face. This is the Daybreak Glimmer shade, and I'm just going to be using this Morphe brush that I got in like the rose gold face collection. I just really like this brush for highlighting. I think it makes it easy to blend out the highlight afterwards. I'm gonna go like this. Oh, it is so blinding. I hope that's picking up on the camera so that you guys can see, but it's just so blinding already. Yeah, wow. Maybe I put too much. I'm gonna put some below my brow as well. Yeah, I hope that's picking up on camera because that is just, and I do think that this kind of highlight is interesting because from what I've seen from using it for a few days now, or a week or so now, I guess, is that it really does look very natural. I know I'm saying this while it's looking very intense, but it really does look very natural. So even when there's a strong light on it, like being out in the sun or driving around or whatever you're doing, I find that it still kind of looks like a glow from within. And I read a lot of reviews that kind of say the same thing. Although it's blinding, although you can build it up to this like extreme look, that it comes off very natural, which I really appreciate. So now I'm going to do the other one on the other side. This is Twilight Gleam. I think this is going to be a little dark for me. I've used it a few times and I could see like a bronzy undertone that I just didn't really want. I do think that it's really beautiful, and if I was a little like tanner, I guess, and I had bronzer on, which I don't have anything besides face powder on right now. So if I did have bronzer on, I think I could blend it into the bronzer, in which case it probably wouldn't look so odd, but I have a feeling it's gonna look a little weird. Okay, so here's the second one. I'm going to highlight like this. Again, really beautiful and blinding. I don't even think this one's picking up as much as the other one, but it is blinding. Like, oh my god. And normally I've been going for almost like lighter or like pinker toned highlights. The Milani one you'll see is kind of a representation of that, where they're not like a pink highlight, but they have like a pink undertone. But I actually am really liking these gold tones. I think they did a really good job. They're not too yellow. They come off really nice, almost like a white gold and then a bronzier gold. You can sort of see a deepness underneath this highlight. So I would say it's just too dark for me, while on this side you can see the lightening effect of the highlight. So now let's get into the swatches. I think that will be super fun. These swatch really well. They're just really beautiful, and they feel a little different than you think they will. They are similar to how I describe the Revlon eyeshadows, where they have that almost like baked formula, and they feel like you're almost picking up nothing. They don't feel like wet or creamy or anything like that. But then they have this beautiful payout of like sheen and colors, so definitely are very interesting in formulation, so I really like them. So I'm going to swatch the Daybreak Glimmer one first. Looks like this. You can see already before I swatch it that it's very intense. And I mean, wow. So you can tell that it's pretty much my skin tone, maybe slightly deeper. So the next one I'm going to swatch is Twilight Gleam. This is the darker of the two shades, and in this swatch you'll be able to see kind of the depth of this one in comparison to the other one. So that's the first one. I'm gonna give some space. Actually, no, I'll swatch them next to each other. Here is the second one. And I will do a close-up afterwards, after I've swatched all the shades. It looks like this, and you can just see the depth, I mean, in comparison. So next to the darker shade from the Revlon, shade, I am going to swatch Twilight Sand, which is right here, from the Scott Barnes palette. So I think that this one from the Scott Barnes one is pretty similar. This one definitely feels a little creamier and more, yeah, like a little wetter of a texture, but yeah, you can definitely see the creaminess in Scott's formula, but I think they're pretty comparable, honestly, once they're on your cheek, when it comes to how bright they are, kind of the amount of texture they show. I mean, similar to a highlight, you're going to see texture when you apply it. It's a highlight, but I think that they do a really good job of looking very natural, especially these two. So like the Scott Barnes palette and then the Revlon highlights. And then Scott doesn't really have a shade in here that really matches the first one, so I am not going to swatch any other shades from this palette. A shade that I think is kind of similar to the first one is actually a shade that I have that I think is kind of similar to the first one is from the Natasha Denona Darya palette, the Diamond and Blush one. And I would say it is this one. I know it's not exactly the same, but it is like a champagne-y color, and that one is like a light gold. So I'm going to swatch this one. Again, this one feels a little like more of like a creamy powder, or the Revlon one feels a little more baked slash like dry. Either way, I think they're both beautiful. So I'm going to... So you can see that the Natasha one is definitely lighter and has like a creamy shine to it, and then this one has more like of a glittery shine to it. I actually just realized, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but the Revlon ones are $12. I think it's like $11.99. You can see them at different price ranges, but around $12. So I just kind of wanted to point that out because at least 2 of these swatches that I've done so far are from palettes that are definitely more expensive. So I just want to note that. They're $12. I think this one is on sale right now, so it comes in around $35 or $40. And then the Scott Barnes palette is much more expensive than $12, so just take that into account. Obviously, there are a bunch of shades in here, so if you break the math out, it probably is more equivalent, but I just want to mention that. The next highlighter that I'm going to swatch is this Milani one. It's in 01 Strobelight. It looks like this. This is the pinkish highlight that I was talking about, where it's not like actually a pink highlight, but it's like a whitish pink toned highlight. And I'm just gonna swatch it as a drugstore comparison, even though I don't think the shades are very similar. I actually think it will be closer to the Natasha one. Yeah, so this is the Milani one, then you have the Natasha one, and then you have the Revlon one. And then finally, the last 2 shades I'm going to compare it to are from this Essence palette, again, because I wanted to throw in some drugstore comparisons so you can get a feel for other highlights that you can get at a similar price. So this is the Essence Glow to Go highlighter palette. It looks like this, and I'm going to be comparing it to this first shade right here. This palette is like super... This one is super powdery. I use it a lot in the summer. I just kind of mix a few of these shades together and then I put it on the body or I put it on my face. But I would say this one, out of all the ones so far, is like, in my opinion, the powderiest, and I've used this one a lot. I think it's hard to tell because of the lighting, but it's been well loved, but it is very powdery. So I'm just gonna take that first shade. And where should I swatch it? I guess I could swatch it right in between the 2. Yeah, so that's like a lighter gold, a little more muted than the other 2. So yeah, so here are the final swatches. I have a zoomed in look as well right before this. These are the 2 Revlon ones, then you have the Essence, the Natasha, Denona, Milani, and then the Scott Barnes one. All really beautiful highlighters for different price ranges, which is really great. And yes, that was just a quick video on these Revlon highlights. I'm really loving them. I use the lighter one a lot recently. It's just an easy highlight to put on. I do enjoy all the other highlights that were mentioned in this. The Essence and the Scott Barnes one, as well as the Natasha and Denona ones, are all in palettes, and I like the Milani as a single. I think that single highlights tend to be pretty easy because you could match your exact shade and you don't have to worry about shades in the palette that you don't want. I think that the Scott Barnes one and the Natasha one, even the Essence one, for example, though, are good because I just use the other shades as eyeshadow. So if that works for you, then definitely pick those up. They're beautiful. If that doesn't work for you, or you're nervous kind of about using some of the other shades for other things, then you probably want to go for a single. And these are some beautiful highlights. So that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. If you use any of these highlights, have any thoughts on them, are thinking about getting the Revlon highlight or any of the other ones mentioned in the video, then definitely comment down below and let me know what you're thinking about getting. highlight is still one of my favorite things. I feel like since we're all wearing masks and stuff right now, having some highlight that kind of peeks above the mask is really fun. And I like just wearing highlight as eyeshadow as well. I think in the summer, having a highlight and then that same shade on your lid just to add some brightness is really fun. So I just love highlights. I guess that's the end of it. And if you love highlights too, definitely like and subscribe. I'll put out more content related to highlighters. Or if you have any questions, let's say you want me to swatch the Revlon one compared to a different highlighter, definitely let me know. Or if you see any highlighters on the market that you're interested in me reviewing, definitely comment them down below as well, and I will try to get them. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day or night or morning or whatever time it is. Thanks guys. Bye.